this is our final week for mobile application programming. I wanted to go over a couple of things. One, the test and final exam. Also review, for the final exam. A couple of cool things that I found actually this week during development. And then making sure everybody understands the schedule. So I'll go over that at the beginning, at the end. So first off, what's due? Test 1, which has been out there, and final exam, I just put out there right now. Or fill out the exemption if you can't get those done, or if you want to finish the final project. I had some people ask about this. You can do that instead. Just send that to me via GitHub, and then fill out the exemption form, just saying you're doing the project instead. And then all that stuff is due Sunday, April 26th at midnight. So your choice, again, test 1 and final exam, or the exemption. Or if you want to finish the final project, you can do that instead. Just send that to me and fill out the exemption form saying you're doing that. Sunday, April 26th at midnight is when all that stuff is due. Okay, so that's the plan there. And some cool stuff that I found this week. The first one I wanted to check out. You may have seen this in the news. There's been a lot of talk about COBOL programming and New Jersey issues with the unemployment system there, and trying to figure out how to fix it, not having programmers that are capable to do that. This is a link to an extension you can add in Visual Studio Code to run COBOL. It also talks about this other extension that allows you to set up debugging in COBOL too. So this is the launch JSON configuration file for the debugger for COBOL. And this is a formatted COBOL file in Visual Studio Code. And there's other COBOL compilers and IDEs you can use and so on. But kind of cool. It's not very hard to set up here. Add a couple extensions. You can check out documentation. So, like you can read in tons of articles, these kind of issues with older software. I've worked on software myself that's from 20, 30, 40 years old. For businesses that have software that's run perfectly for all these years. Maybe they have to move it from one server to another, or something isn't supported anymore and they have to switch. So this kind of thing is going to happen more and more. So this is an interesting part about programming. There's lots of opportunities with sometimes old programming languages. So kind of cool, something to check out. Also, this is something that's pretty sweet. This is Snipe IT. This is a IT asset inventory and license management tool. And it's open source. You can download it from GitHub. And the idea with Snipe IT and this other tool here, OpenDCIM, we'll take a look at too, is they're made for managing your IT inventory. So even if you're a small business, you have to worry about licenses and what computers you have, what cell phones you have, that kind of stuff, right? So important kind of things. They're becoming more and more important. People having good access to internet and devices that are in good shape is important. Being able to access those devices via something like CloudTrax and Snipe IT. Those are important. I'll put a link to CloudTrax in the notes also. Those are important tools that more and more businesses are going to expect people to be using. They're important because they allow you to watch everything that's going on. With CloudTrax, you can watch everything that's going on the network. With Snipe IT, you can see all the assets that you have in inventory, all the computers, all the licenses that are in use. How does that compare to what we think is actually being used? Sometimes that's tough to keep track of because there's so many devices, so many people installing software and so on. So Snipe IT is something that can help you keep track of those assets and licensing. CloudTrax is something you can use to watch network traffic and see what's going on with the network. And then OpenDCIM this is something that you can use to look at what actual hardware you have, how does network traffic flow through that hardware, how is it wired, that kind of stuff. The very nitty-gritty technical details. OpenDCIM does that, and then you've got Snipe IT for assets and licenses on top of that, and CloudTrax to watch the whole thing. So, interesting stuff. There's open source pieces and cloud-based pieces you can put together to have a really sophisticated system. That's important, okay, to think about. I know this is a mobile app class, but I like to mention things that I find that are cool, and those are all cool applications you can check out, download for free, or sign up for demos or that kind of stuff. Speaking of downloading for free and signing up for demos and those kind of things, this set of links is to all the stuff based on MajorGeeks.com. You may have heard of this before, but the idea here is Major Geeks is one of those places that keeps track of new software. Like, you can get a lot of stuff through GitHub, but some developers, they may have like a free piece of software, like this free port scanner, for instance, or IMG burn for making ISOs into DVDs or CDs, that kind of stuff. This other one, Kitty, which is a port of Putty, which is a terminal emulation client, so you can connect via SSH and that kind of stuff. This is a special Windows version of Putty. It's pretty cool. A lot of people have used Putty, they have not used Kitty. Anyways, these are all things that are on MajorGeeks.com, stuff that I found from there before. And Major Geeks every day or every other day posts new software that's come out. So stuff like these free port scanners or IMG burn, those developers might have something like that they give away for free, and then they have some other applications that they sell. So check out their stuff. Maybe you buy something from them and support them, that kind of thing. So pretty cool. Alright, so those are some cool things I found. And then I also will post a link to a playlist that has all of the class videos in it. And then all the links from those. So, reviewing Android Studio, the GeoQuery example, React Native, some basic stuff about React Native, how the examples work, widgets and components, right? Flutter and Dart, how those are put together in terms of components and widgets, so on. Other mobile app frameworks like jQuery Mobile and Ionic and Swift and so on. Went through like basic setup of those. The idea is to get a lay of the land, right? Between Android Studio, Flutter, Dart, and React Native, we should get a hang for how all these pieces are put together, right? There's usually some back-end part that builds for you. There's hopefully a simplified UI element pieces of widgets, so you can put in little pieces that are 15 or 20 lines of code, piece those together, make user interfaces out of them. Maybe you like React, maybe you like Angular, maybe you like jQuery Mobile, whatever. There's all kinds of different options there. I think the important thing is to look at them and get fluent at this whole process of looking at some framework, picking something, looking at how you can do some kind of a hello world in there. There's Major Geeks finally loaded. The free port scanner, IMG burn. I'm working with a client that has an old piece of hardware. It's not super old, but basically, here's the idea. They're using something called FreeNAS. I'll put a link to this in the notes also. So FreeNAS is a free network attached storage solution that also supports virtual machines, different stuff like that. So people will take hardware that's a bit older and repurpose it using something like FreeNAS or other version or other things like versions of Linux, FreeBSD, Debian, right, Ubuntu, Fedora, it depends, CentOS, it depends on what it is exactly you're doing. But FreeNAS is one example. In those cases, and of course there's other ones too, you're going to get an ISO file, right? Some kind of an ISO file. And an ISO file is a standard of disk image. So this .iso file represents exactly what a disk is, and you take that and either use imgburn to burn that to a DVD or something like Rufus to make into a USB drive to boot off of. So I actually do some of that work where I'm taking an ISO and booting a device. I'm not sure if this device is going to boot from a DVD or from a USB drive or PXE over the network. I'm not really sure, so I'm getting all that together. So anyways, I figured I'd give you links to those kind of things. Interesting stuff. All of it pretty much is for your open source stuff that you can use. So check that stuff out. Review all the notes, right? And then remember, you gotta do test 1 in the final exam, or fill out the exemption. Or if you want to finish a final project, you can do that instead and just send me the project and fill out the exemption, and then you're good. So you've got Sunday till Sunday, April 26th at midnight. And I'm always here if you have any questions. And thank you so much, and hopefully you have a good summer.